Hey YouTube, Savondraws here. Today I just wanted to take the time to show you all another look at the Procreate Dreams 2 beta. So this video will be more like a live tour than my last video. Just showing you some of the things I've learned as I've been using the app over the last few days, and some things that I also just left out in my last video. So first we'll just start off with the home screen, and what we'll see when we're here is just that we'll be greeted with our projects. It's kind of the same as the first app. A difference we'll see is that Procreate Dreams 1.0 files will basically have this little 1.0 on them. So it basically just shows that they need to be re-imported. And if you do click on them, they'll just upgrade to a Procreate Dreams 2 file and they'll throw you right in. One thing we'll see when we do that is that, as I mentioned in my last video, they will all being these drawing layers which you can't just animate from. When you try to animate them, it will send you into a drawing mode, and this drawing mode has no timeline, so it's kind of useless. So what you would want to do with all of these files is basically you want to gather them all up together like this, and then you want to hold and click convert to flipbook. Then it will do some applying crop thing, and it will make it a flipbook of all the layers you just selected. Now, something new that I didn't mention in my last video that I've came to see is we no longer have a true infinite canvas. What I mean by this is you see this white space? That is the edge of where we can truly draw. So basically, this gray space right here, this gray box, that is the end of the actual canvas. If we were to go out, this is the canvas we actually see when we're doing our playback. But if we go into our edit flipbook, we can draw all the way up to the point where the white canvas ends. And this is our full canvas. We can also change the size of this canvas where we can draw off of the edges. I'm guessing just for performance, because I assume the infinite canvas was just too performance heavy in the first app. So we can just scale it down however we want to. We can even cut off some of our animation if that's what we want. And then now I can only draw in this white space that's detailed here. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, there are some reasons where you might want to change your flipbook back into content, because you can't multi-select a bunch of frames on this flipbook timeline. You can't drag into further into the timeline. Like, it just cuts you off. You can only select these 15 frames that you're seeing at one time anytime. So if we wanted to edit our frames like more than 15 frames at once, we would have to convert the flipbook back into a track. We'll get a group of all of our layers that were in that animation flipbook. And then if I wanted to, let's say, extend all of these frames, I could go here, and then I could, oop, you gotta love annoying gestures. You could click here, click free trim, and extend all of these frames to a longer duration. And now the animation is slower. Something I also didn't mention is, well, at least I didn't show, is we have this easily scalable timeline. Unfortunately, we can't draw in here anymore, and they said that they will not be adding drawing back into the regular timeline mode. They said there were too many performance issues. This is very disappointing to me, but it does sound like Procreate will basically be working on the flipbook mode to the point where you won't need to use it on the main timeline. I just hope this comes sooner than later. Now, here's some small little weird things that I saw in Procreate Dreams 2, the new way it works. So let's say I could have a large amount of content. As we can see here, I have a bunch of tracks, and this is a Procreate Dreams 1 file, and I might want to create this as a flipbook. Now, if I were to gather all of this and make it a flipbook, there's some weird thing where they now need to resize flipbooks for performance reasons. So they have something that's easy and just says fix it for me, or there's advanced. So if you click fix it for me, it will crop basically the resolution of your drawing to make it work really good. But as you can see, this takes really long. And this is actually the exact thing that I was mentioning in my first video, where I was like, when we're just trying to move back and forth between converting flipbooks and converting tracks, if they get too large, it's going to create some real issues in how long it takes for you to animate. I'm talking over all of this and it's still not done. And this is only a 15-second animation. So I'm very much not fond of this. I mean, you could get over this just by converting each track individually into different flipbooks, but then you can't animate them in the same field, which is pretty annoying. Now, if we click advanced, we'll see that we can choose to resample our animations or crop that white space that I previously mentioned. So let's say if we did resampling, we click settings and we can reduce the quality of our lines to whatever we want to. And you'll see the more you reduce the quality, the more it gets more blurry. Now, I will say most of the resolutions keep a good amount of the detail of your lines, but this is just a very weird way to work around this stuff. I don't fully understand it yet. On to the good side, if I were to mention something good about what we have in this new version of Procreate Dreams, we have some really good keyboard shortcuts actually. So if I were to use my keyboard, you can see on the main timeline, I can just scroll through. We can customize our keyboard shortcuts by clicking here and then going to keyboard shortcuts. And you can see we have a long comprehensive list that breaks down different keyboard shortcuts into different sections of the application. Um, and there are a few that I've found very useful. Actually, I like them more than what I generally tend to see in animation programs. So let's see if we jump into this flip book. Now, of course, I can move side to side with the left and right keys. Um, let's say if I wanted to move drawing to drawing, I'm going to just extend this to 3. Now, I can still move left and right, but if I click option and right, it will just jump to the next drawing. And you can do that back and forth. Something I also like is you can click plus and minus to change the duration of your frame, and that's very helpful. And then you can click period and comma to just nudge your frame in a different direction. So those all work really well. You can click space to play. Yeah, I'm very fond of these keyboard shortcuts, and I haven't even had the time to look at even a quarter of these yet. And the nice thing is that they also work for switching modes. So if I get out of the flipbook, I can switch these 3 modes with 1, 2, and 3. And then I can also go through the timeline with the left and the right keys. So I really need to take the time to see all the keyboard shortcuts, because honestly, right now, this seems like the best way to navigate this program. And that actually is my favorite part of the updates so far. It might be better than anything they've added. Now, to go into something a little bit more negative, we do have some weird bugs going on in Flipbook mode. So mainly with copy and paste and keyboard shortcuts, honestly. Sometimes you just use too many keyboard shortcuts and it starts bugging out. But it's a beta, that's fine. But more importantly, the copy and paste works really weird. So when you copy and paste on the lasso tool, it tends to work. Sometimes it doesn't. You see that it didn't do anything just now. Let's see if I put paste on this blank frame. Okay, it did paste, but it pasted in the middle. So what I've seen so far is that sometimes it doesn't paste at all. Sometimes it pastes your full frame, the full drawing, and sometimes it pastes in the middle. Sometimes it pastes in place as well, but nothing has been consistent. Now, when you click the transform tool after you select, if you click copy, I've seen that when you click paste, it pastes your whole frame, and it never pastes just your selection, which is pretty annoying. Luckily, copying and pasting on the frame level works just fine. Something else I didn't mention is that we have more easily accessible stabilization options for our brushes. We just hop in here. We also have all these new brushes from like Procreate 5.4. So there's a lot of new nice brushes to use. But you can just go in here. You have your streamline option, stabilization, and motion filtering, and they're easily accessible. So that's not too bad. And then for the onion skins, I did go over these, but you can just quickly edit in a very nice way your onion skin. Show as many frames as you want, up to 8. And this works backwards and forwards. You can change the opacity. It's all in real time. You can even change the tint of the current frame you're animating on if you want. I don't know why I would want to do this, but you can do that. And then you can change the color to any color now, not just the ones they have set out. And then you have all these same options for your forward frames. Something else we have is when we select, just like in Procreate, we can change the contrast of the selection mask. Yeah, just to hone in on what we're selecting. We can also store our brushes in iCloud, which is pretty nice. And then we can change our brush bar, move it over to the right if we want as well for right-handed people. And of course, you can turn off painting with your finger. So if I wanted to do a quick demonstration of the logic I would use if I was animating in Procreate Dreams now, what I would do is I would come in here, click empty, I would create a flipbook, then I would draw my animation. So we're just going to draw a bowl, and then I can click plus for the next frame. And this actually works pretty similar to Procreate's animation suite, which is nice. If I want to transform anything I'm doing, I just click transform, just like Procreate. Draw here. If I want, I could also just duplicate my frame, transform for easier animation. I can duplicate it again. And then I could distort it, make my ball drop like this. And go up here. Now, something else I want to show. Oh, and let me change the FPS on this as well. So change the FPS, we'd come here, and I'd make it 12 frames per second. And what I could do is I can end the animation right where I stopped animating. And of course, this is a really bad example, but just to show you guys something real quick. Now, after we complete all of these animations, we can move everything together by grouping it. If we click on one of these frames, we can extend them all together. And we can do this on any of them, actually. So that's pretty nice. Then we just let go of the multi-selection mode. And now we'll see that all of these are double framed. Something that's also nice is now our color drop is fixed. And when we drop it, we'll see that if we move our threshold, we no longer have many gaps aside from the texture of the brush itself that I'm using. So that is pretty nice in my opinion. What I will say is this color drop is a little too hard to grab sometimes, which is kind of annoying. So I do want them to work on that. But more ideally, I wish they would just add a dedicated paintbrush tool. Now we can see that when we only have one layer, we have this really small timeline, which is fine for animating. But as we add more layers, we can only have up to 3 showing at a time, but we can't move this flipbook timeline. And it starts to take up quite a bit more space. Like now you only have this amount of space to draw on, which in my opinion is kind of annoying. So I do want them to make this able to move around and maybe even make a vertical timeline. And then you could just use it like the sliders over here while you have your whole right side or the whole left side, depending on which arm you use to draw. So some quick things, we also have the ability to split the content. We can insert in-betweens by clicking insert frame, or we can just click plus, and wherever we click plus, it will create an in-between, though it will obviously eat the frame that was already there. So sometimes it's better to just click insert frame if you wanted to keep the frame. Now we can extend our frame duration by doing the sliding, but we can also hold down on them and we can manually write how long we want the frame duration to be, and it will just extend there. For every individual frame, we can also add effects and blend modes, but we don't have all the effects that we have inside of the keyframing mode. We only have blend modes and masking. I know somebody had asked on the last video if we can merge layers down when we're animating, and unfortunately, we cannot. Now, I don't really have much more to go over for the application, but one big oversight that I did see that someone mentioned on the forum is that now when we have animation layers, since we can no longer draw on the main timeline, let's say if I were to add music, because we can no longer draw on the main timeline, we can't really sync up to our music by seeing the waveforms, because when we're in our flipbook, our audio is all on the main timeline. And then if we go into our flipbook, we can no longer see our audio waveform. We just hear the animation play. We just hear the audio. Now, that's not really a problem if you are really good at syncing things up with audio playback, but we need some way to see the waveform so when we export, there won't be any issues with how things are synced up. So yeah, I mean, this was a more chill video. That's about it for today. But if you guys have any more questions, just let me know and I'll keep updating the videos as they keep updating the app in beta. Thanks for watching. Peace.